Deep in the cloud forests of Peru sits an ancient mountain fortress built with 4 times the total stone volume of the Great Pyramid of Giza. Mainstream historians completely ignore the fact that a supposedly primitive tribe moved these millions of tons of megalithic blocks up a vertical mountain peak without wheels, draft animals, or a written language. This impossible architectural nightmare proves that an advanced, centralized superpower operated in the shadows of South America long before the rise of the Inca Empire, leaving behind thousands of bizarre circular structures and terrifying psychological death traps built directly into the stone gateways. This forgotten civilization vanished into thin air without leaving a single trace of their identity. If you look closely at the engineering left behind across our planet, you realize that history is a lie. Join us and let's discover the world's forbidden ancient fortresses. Let's go.
Number 13. Tyrans. Ancient Greek legends claim that massive, single-eyed giants known as Cyclopes were the only creatures strong enough to lift the blocks defining this Bronze Age citadel. Located on the Peloponnese Peninsula, the fortress walls reach thicknesses of up to 8 meters and consist of unmortared limestone boulders weighing several tons each. Classical writers insisted that normal humans could not possibly budge even the smallest stone in the entire complex, yet modern excavations prove that prehistoric engineers shaped this defensive labyrinth around the 14th century BC. The sheer mass of the fortifications completely dwarfs the standard architectural capabilities attributed to the Mycenaean civilization, suggesting that a highly organized military collective directed thousands of laborers under a rigid, vanished hierarchy. Attackers entering the main gate were automatically funneled into a long, narrow, uncovered stone corridor, leaving them completely exposed to a lethal rain of projectiles from defenders standing on the towering parapets above. This lethal design prioritized raw tactical dominance, forcing rival armies into claustrophobic death traps where numerical superiority became entirely useless. Beyond the massive defensive rings, secret corbelled vaulted galleries cut directly through the stone foundations, providing hidden access to water during prolonged sieges. The immense scale of these tunnels reveals a secretive society preparing for a terrifying threat that mainstream academics systematically choose to ignore. The architectural panic carved into these stones hints at an invisible enemy that routinely wiped entire Bronze Age civilizations clean off the face of the earth, forcing ancient engineers to look deep into the dark underground secrets of the planet.
Number 12. Teotihuacan. Deep beneath the massive citadel complex of this prehistoric Mexican metropolis lies a secret that completely shatters our understanding of Mesoamerican technological development. Long before the Aztecs discovered the empty city and named it the place where gods were born, an unknown civilization engineered a massive geometric fortress covering over 20 square kilometers. The core of this military and religious stronghold is the Citadel, a massive sunken plaza enclosed by towering stone platforms that could easily contain over 100,000 people simultaneously. This was not a primitive ritual space, it was a highly fortified tactical command center designed with absolute geometric precision. Archaeologists excavating beneath the heavy stone foundations uncovered a subterranean tunnel system lined with massive sheets of mica, a powerful thermal insulator utilized in modern space shuttles. This advanced material was hauled from quarries thousands of kilometers away and installed beneath the stone floors for reasons that mainstream science cannot explain. Deeper inside the tunnels, researchers discovered large pools of toxic liquid mercury, creating a shimmering, hazardous landscape sealed away from human eyes. This complex mechanical layout points to an advanced industrial or defensive purpose rather than a simple tribal burial ground. The civilization vanished without leaving a single written record, abandoning their massive stone pyramids to the elements long before external invaders could breach the perimeter. This total lack of historical documentation leaves modern researchers completely blind to the dark global networks connecting these ancient architects.
Only 1% of people know the dark truth behind what we are about to show you next. If you want to be part of the few who actually know what's happening in the world, subscribe and leave a like right now. Done? Look at this.
Number 11. Great Zimbabwe. Massive granite walls curving gracefully through the African landscape form the remnants of a spectacular medieval metropolis that completely shatters colonial historical narratives. Built between the 11th and 15th centuries by the ancestral Shona people, this majestic stone complex spans over 7 square kilometers without a single ounce of mortar binding the thousands of precisely cut blocks. The most impressive structure features an outer wall measuring nearly 10 meters high and extending over 250 meters in length, making it the largest ancient monument located south of the Sahara Desert. European explorers who stumbled upon the ruins in the 19th century refused to believe that indigenous Africans possessed the architectural intelligence required to engineer such complex monumental layouts. They desperately invented wild myths, claiming the fortress was constructed by the biblical Queen of Sheba or ancient Phoenician sailors to strip local populations of their historical achievements. Archaeological evidence clearly demonstrates that Great Zimbabwe served as the wealthy center of a massive trading empire that controlled vast gold deposits and maintained commercial networks reaching as far as China and Persia. The unique conical stone towers inside the enclosure serve no obvious military purpose, hinting at a deep spiritual architecture. These elegant granite patterns hide a complex astronomical alignment that modern researchers are only beginning to decode. Every stone layout from this era suggests that ancient architectural planning focused heavily on surviving a massive planetary-scale warfare that was rapidly spreading across the ancient world.
Number 10. Hattusa. Over 8 kilometers of double-layered stone walls, reinforced with dozens of projecting rectangular towers, guard the rugged mountain ridges of central Anatolia, standing as a terrifying masterpiece of ancient military engineering. This massive Bronze Age stronghold is surrounded by colossal limestone blocks cut into interlocking shapes that survived centuries of violent earthquakes and brutal imperial warfare. Monumental entry points, like the famous Lion's Gate and the enigmatic King's Gate, were specifically designed to channel incoming visitors between towering stone guardians, asserting absolute geopolitical dominance over all who entered. Beneath the primary fortifications, engineers carved deep stone tunnels known as posterns, which allowed hidden military units to execute sudden counterattacks against unsuspecting enemy forces besieging the perimeter. The entire citadel operated as a massive logistical machine, containing vast underground grain silos lined with insulating straw to preserve food supplies for decades of potential isolation. Despite its seemingly invincible architecture, the entire city was violently burned to the ground around 1200 BC during the mysterious global collapse of the Bronze Age civilizations. The charred clay tablets found within the ruins reveal an empire frantically screaming for help against invisible invaders who emerged from the sea. The sudden annihilation of this superpower proved that even the most formidable stone walls could not protect an empire once the supply lines of the ancient world were permanently cut.
Number 9. Monte Alban. Rising majestically over a flattened mountain ridge in Oaxaca, this staggering mountaintop citadel completely redefines our understanding of early Mesoamerican engineering. The Zapotec civilization manually leveled an entire mountain peak around 500 BC, moving hundreds of thousands of solid rock without the aid of iron tools or draft animals. This massive artificial plateau stretches for hundreds of meters, serving as the heavily fortified political and religious epicenter of a highly centralized regional superpower. Terraced stone walls guard the steep slopes of the mountain, creating an impenetrable defensive perimeter that isolated the ruling elite from the turbulent valleys spreading far below. The central plaza is flanked by massive stone pyramids, astronomical observatories,
and complex defensive platforms designed to withstand prolonged military incursions. Carved directly into the foundations of the main structures are the famous danzante stones, displaying gruesome, twisted depictions of tortured and mutilated enemy captives. These chilling graphic displays served as an unmistakable warning to rival tribes regarding the absolute brutality of the mountaintop rulers. The entire complex operated for over a millennium before experiencing a sudden, unexplained abandonment that left the grand stone temples entirely empty. This silent stone mountain stands as a haunting testament to an era of total geopolitical control that dissolved into myth, leaving behind advanced astronomical layouts that point directly to the next breakthrough in ancient mechanical science.
Number 8. Ollantaytambo. Towering precipitously over the sacred valley of Peru, this massive mountain stronghold presents a logistical mystery that completely defies standard primitive construction theories. The entire mountainside is carved into massive stone terraces, but the true engineering anomaly sits at the absolute summit within the Temple of the Sun. Here, ancient builders assembled a massive wall using colossal blocks of rose granite weighing over 50 tons each. To appreciate the sheer scale of this achievement, imagine dragging a fleet of modern semi-trucks across a roaring river and up a vertical mountain cliff, using nothing but handmade ropes and raw muscle power. The quarry where these massive stones were extracted is located on an entirely different mountain ridge miles away, separated from the fortress by a deep valley floor and the violent currents of the Vilcanota River. Prehistoric engineers had to lower these multi-ton blocks down steep slopes, guide them safely across the raging waters, and haul them up an incredibly steep incline to the summit. Mainstream history fails to provide a viable explanation for how a culture without heavy draft animals or iron machinery could coordinate the immense physical force required for this transport. The entire complex operates as a highly advanced tactical fortress, utilizing the natural verticality of the canyon walls to monitor and control all movement through the valley below. This staggering display of raw engineering dominance secured the mountain pass against external threats for generations, establishing a blueprint for soaring cloud kingdoms that controlled entire continents.
Number 5. Sacsayhuaman. Forming a massive 3-tiered defensive ring on the hilltops overlooking Cusco, this staggering stone complex showcases a highly sophisticated understanding of acoustic and geometric engineering. The fortress features massive limestone blocks weighing over 120 tons each, arranged in a continuous, jagged zigzag pattern that stretches for hundreds of meters. This specific architectural layout mimics the precise shape of a lightning bolt, creating a formidable defensive line that forced any approaching force to expose their unprotected flanks to defenders stationed on the elevated platforms. Beyond its obvious military utility, modern researchers have discovered that the unique angles of the zigzag walls create powerful acoustic anomalies, reflecting and amplifying sound across the valley like a giant stone megaphone. Even more disturbing is the presence of thermal vitrification on several sections of the massive stones, where the rock surfaces appear artificially melted and transformed into a smooth, reflective glass-like substance. This molecular alteration requires exposure to extreme concentrated heat sources that far exceed the capabilities of primitive wood fires or standard ancient furnaces. The presence of these melted stone layers suggests that the fortress was subjected to an unknown high-energy event or utilized an advanced thermal technology during its construction. The immense scale of the lightning walls permanently alters the local landscape, serving as a silent monument to a forgotten science that weaponized the environment itself.
Number 6. Nan Madol. Constructed directly on top of a coral reef in Micronesia, this enigmatic stone city consists of nearly 100 artificial islets engineered from massive basalt columns. Known as the Venice of the Pacific,
The entire fortress complex is linked by a network of tidal canals that required ancient builders to transport thousands of hexagonal volcanic rocks weighing up to 50 tons each from distant quarries. The Saudeller dynasty engineered these massive structures around the 12th century, creating a heavily fortified administrative center designed to isolate the ruling class from the common population. The outer walls of the primary mortuary enclosure reach heights of up to 8 meters, stacking heavy basalt logs in an interlocking woodwork pattern that absorbs the constant, violent impacts of the ocean waves. Local legends claim that ancient sorcerers utilized levitation to fly the massive volcanic columns across the island, reflecting the absolute impossibility of moving such immense weights using primitive oceanic rafts. The entire city completely lacks a natural source of fresh water or agricultural land, forcing the elite population to rely entirely on resources transported to the canals by subservient outer communities. This fragile logistical chain shattered permanently when a fierce warrior culture invaded the islands, leaving the basalt citadels completely abandoned to the encroaching tides. The ocean continues to reclaim these massive stone grids, masking the traces of a Pacific power that built their empire on top of the open sea.
Emerging explosively from the dense Sri Lankan jungle, this colossal 200-meter-high granite peak supports an ancient palace fortress that defies spatial reality. King Kashapa constructed this soaring sky citadel during the late 5th century, transforming a sheer volcanic plug into an impenetrable royal residence and a psychological monument of absolute power. The only passage to the site requires scaling a dizzying series of walkways carved directly into the vertical cliff face, passing through a massive stone gateway shaped like a colossal lion. Visitors were forced to walk directly into the open jaws of the feline beast, experiencing a carefully engineered display of royal intimidation before ever reaching the upper platforms. The summit itself contains a fully functional royal palace, complete with complex water gardens, stone swimming pools, and sophisticated hydraulic systems that pumped water hundreds of meters straight up from the plains below. Surrounding the base of the massive rock are extensive moats and defensive earthworks designed to permanently isolate the mountain kingdom from external military threats. Kashapa lived in constant paranoia of an impending invasion, utilizing the extreme verticality of the landscape to secure his fragile reign from rival factions. The entire complex was abandoned shortly after his violent death on the battlefield below, leaving the painted frescoes on the cliffside to rot in the tropical humidity. This decaying paradise proves that absolute isolation cannot save a tyrant once his armies are crushed on the ground.
Number 4. Puma Punku. Scattered across a high Bolivian plateau near Lake Titicaca, the shattered ruins of this ancient megalithic complex present an engineering puzzle that completely breaks standard archaeological timelines. The site features massive red sandstone and andesite blocks cut with laser-like precision, displaying perfect 90-degree angles, uniform drill holes, and intricate geometric inner grooves. The largest stone slab weighs an estimated 130 tons, transported across rugged terrain from a quarry located miles away, during an era when local populations supposedly possessed no wheels or written communication. Unlike any other ancient architecture in South America, these blocks were engineered with interlocking T-shaped copper clamps that bound the massive foundations together against the violent tectonic forces of the Andes Mountains. The sheer perfection of the stone surfaces indicates the use of advanced mechanical cutting tools rather than primitive stone hammers, forcing researchers to question the true age and technological identity of the builders.
The entire complex looks as if it was violently ripped apart by an apocalyptic cataclysm, leaving massive stone blocks flipped upside down and buried deep within layers of ancient tropical mud. Mainstream timelines attribute the site to the Tiwanaku culture, yet the physical anomalies found within the stone indicate a forgotten technological era. This broken stone laboratory reveals a sudden catastrophe that wiped out an advanced machining network long before modern history began.
Nestled deep within the Bekaa Valley of Lebanon, this monumental temple fortress contains the largest cut stone blocks ever moved by human hands in the entire history of civilization. The foundation platform of the complex features the famous Trilithon, a trio of colossal limestone blocks weighing an astonishing 800 tons each. These massive stones were quarried nearly a kilometer away and raised onto a retaining wall over 7 meters above the ground with such extreme precision that a piece of paper cannot slide between them. Modern heavy crane companies confirm that lifting blocks of this immense weight requires specialized hydraulic equipment and stabilization mechanisms that did not exist during the Roman era. Further down in the quarry sits the Stone of the Pregnant Woman, a single monolithic block weighing over 1,000 tons that was abandoned before being fully separated from the bedrock. While Roman engineers constructed magnificent temples on top of the platform, the massive megalithic foundations indicate that an older, completely unknown civilization prepared the site using an unimaginable technology. The sheer scale of the stone architecture completely defies the logistical capabilities of any known ancient empire, hinting at a forgotten global power that operated before the dawn of recorded history. The presence of these 1,000-ton platforms points to a prehistoric infrastructure network that operated on a scale that modern machines can barely replicate.
Deep within the remote frozen wilderness of southern Siberia, an immense wall of colossal granite stones presents a terrifying challenge to the established narrative of human prehistory. This staggering monument consists of enormous granite blocks stacked up to 40 meters in air, forming a massive defensive barrier that stretches across the rugged mountain landscape. The individual stones are cut with flat faces, sharp right angles, and tight joints, with some blocks estimating weights of over 3,000 tons each. If these structures are definitively proven to be man-made, they would dwarf any other archaeological discovery on Earth, completely rewriting our understanding of prehistoric human engineering. Mainstream geologists desperately claim that the wall is merely the result of natural rock fracturing and extreme tectonic weathering across millions of years. However, many independent researchers note that the precise stacking, uniform alignment, and apparent tool marks indicate a highly intentional, artificial construction. The remote location features anomalous magnetic readings that cause modern electronic compasses and survey equipment to malfunction completely near the massive granite blocks. This bizarre physical phenomenon suggests the presence of hidden mineral alignments or ancient energy manipulation built directly into the mountain ridge. This frozen continental barrier remains hidden from global eyes, guarding the final, most terrifying architectural secret buried deep within the clouds.
Cuelap. High above the cloud forests of northern Peru stands a colossal mountain fortress that contains exactly 4 times the total stone volume of the Great Pyramid of Giza. Built by the forgotten Chachapoya civilization around 900 AD, this massive citadel features outer walls rising nearly 20 meters into the air and stretching across an entire mountain ridge more than 3,000 meters above sea level. Mainstream textbooks describe these people as isolated mountain villagers, yet they manually moved over 111,000 cubic meters of stone up vertical cliffs without using wheels, roads, or draft animals. The main entrance is an absolute psychological nightmare, narrowing into a tight single-file passage where a hidden false floor was engineered to collapse beneath the feet of invading warriors, trapping them instantly. Inside the massive perimeter, archaeologists discovered over 400 unique circular stone homes decorated with intricate geometric friezes that proved these people possessed a wealthy, highly organized civilization capable of affording pure artistic beauty. The entire city died in absolute silence when European diseases arrived, leaving personal belongings, ceramics, and tools sitting exactly where they were abandoned by hands that never returned. The cloud forest completely consumed the massive walls, burying the greatest architectural triumph of South America beneath a blanket of green oblivion. The survival of these empty mountain ramparts proves that our ancestors built a world we are still completely unable to understand.
If you thought this was terrifying, you are not ready for what they found in the video on your screen. Click it right now. The truth is worse than you think.